LLA. It was a very one-sided game one. A lot of it determined by an early lane swap. Azure getting ahead on his infamous Udyr. We'll see if that happens again in this game.
I'm not that hopeful for Astral. I think the way that PSG just demolished them is very demoralizing, but I'll also say that Jose Diodo and Cody have to play a very aggressive mid-jungle.
Agreed.
Maokai Asol is the opposite of that. I think they probably thought that they might be able to outscale and then rely on their mechanics, but they just got completely out-macroed. Bans haven't changed that much, even though these teams have changed sides.
Yep.
So Astral banned Senevai Azir in game one. The bans for PSG were Lee Sin, Sejuani, Ashe. So 3 for 3 so far are exactly the same, even if the sides are different.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind Cody going back onto his Ahri, just because it gives him a little bit more playmaking ability. Obviously, Aurelian's sort of very strong when you get scaled up. It doesn't give you that earlier game pressure that something like an Ahri can do. Obviously, Cody very comfortable on things like the Azir as well. Even sometimes brings out the Yone. With Estral having first pick, we'll see where Sophie decides to lead them. Sejuani and Lee bound away again, as you say, and likely an Ashe here from PSG. No changes in bans from Estral either.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of the Azir ban. I feel like you're denying it from Maple, but you could also just take it yourself. Yeah. But this is why they banned the Azir. They do the Taliyah takeaway, and if they're going to pair this Taliyah with a very aggressive jungler, like a Viego, even though you do need to see a few more champions before you want to lock in the Viego, but that's something that I have in the sights for Jose Diodo.
See where PSG decide to go with their first couple of picks. Last time they looked for the Varus Taliyah. Obviously, Taliyah taken away. Varus wouldn't be too much of a surprise here. Still gives you that team fighting AD carry. The lethality worked very well. Gives you pressure in the lane as well. But we'll see if Estral decide to go towards the Kalista, because that is still up. Estral have also looked to the Draven in times of need. Snacker very comfortable on that, so maybe we will see that. Instead, Ahri now locked in like PSG. Yep.
I do like that pick for Maple. It will make it very difficult for Astral to play an aggressive mid-jungle against him, especially once he's level 6, can very easily just triple dash away from anything. So I think they just match bottom lane from here, and then they try and find the aggressive jungler later. Where
do you go? I mean, you could go Xin for pressure in that lane, or you could go tank here. I mean, I only say you could because that's what they're doing. I'm going to be honest here, Jack. I don't think going tank here is the ideal, but they will go tank here, which means likely, possibly, a lane swap again. Just someone that can survive into the Varus on that side lane. And then maybe AD. I think AD, otherwise it's just going to get banned out, as you say.
Yeah, I mean, Kalista, if they want what they had last game. But okay, so they're dropping their AD to 4-5, even though Varus is already locked in.
To get the Xin. I mean, Xin Taliyah, very powerful. Very strong together.
I think it really depends on this response here by PSG, because they could go Wukong, or they could just lock in Udyr again. And they're pinching it at the moment. So if either they're... So, okay, this is the good thing for Astral. They're either giving Jose the ability to ban out a bunch of junglers, or they're taking Udyr off. If they don't 4-5 ban Udyr, then I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah, they're trolling, 100%. I was also scared for a second that PSG were just going to go Kha'Zix and try and copy Canyon. Kha'Zix obviously very strong into the Xin Zhao in isolation. Yeah. Not great into the Taliyah, but it can give you a lot of damage.
I think that would have been one of the best ways for us to get a third game. So, depending on whose side you're on, it's a disappointing or
all the Estral esports fans in the crowd are like, woo! Just pick Kha'Zix, please. But there's the Udyr. Kalista taken away by PSG. Expectation is double AD carry ban for PSG.
Yep.
Kalista Draven most likely could do Kalista Lucian as well. And Estral, they've got rid of the Udyr. That makes sense if they want to ban out another top lane, or if they want to get rid of something like the Nautilus, just to make sure you don't have to play into Varus Naught bot. That would also be fine.
I think your expected value with another top ban goes way down, just because there's so many different things you can pick. So I honestly don't know what Astral is going to be with this last pick. It is Rumble, so they're just taking off the tier list of the most played top laners for PSG throughout the season.
Good support as well, alongside the Varus. Gives you a lot of damage in that lane. So it looks like actually a PSG currently hovering the Aatrox implies that they're going to leave support for counter pick last here. Get Woody something he's comfortable on. The Renekton, very safe in the top lane for Azure. Instead, Twisted Fate. I mean, lane swap.
Lane swap, Medic.
Estro want to lane swap. PSG, Twisted Fate, if you put him behind, can struggle. Obviously, we have seen some Twisted Fates accepting the lane swap, going mid-level 1. Gold card into red card can really scupper the enemy mid laner's day. Xayah, Rakan pick. Xayah, Rakan very good in a lane swap. Rakan struggles in the laning phase, but Xayah very good at pushing lanes. And obviously, Rakan, when he gets to 3 to 6, becomes a much more impactful champion.
Yeah, and again, I feel like Astral has a very playable 5v5, but PSG isn't gonna want to let them ever 5v5.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the calling cards of the Twisted Fate top.
One shot.
Wasn't even trying. It's just jet lag. But I would say that with how well PSG was able to play side lanes in game 1 with the Udyr, having the Twisted Fate is just an extension of that. It is even worse in team fights, I feel like, because there is very poor front line for them here, so they will have to play fights much differently, much sharper. But the overall concept of just really you know, smothering Astral on the map is going to be the same.
For Astral, backs against the wall. Lose this and you are out. Beaten by T1, beaten by PSG, back to the LLA into a world's possibility, obviously, in a few months' time. The question is obviously, first, can you make it back? Secondly, can you challenge now? Can you fight up against PSG? Maybe you find some early aggression. Maybe you find a way to stop PSG from just scaling up towards the team fights or towards this, you know, slightly more pick-heavy composition they have right now. Because in game 1, they really weren't able to find any avenues into the matchup.
Yeah, I agree. And we talked a bit in game 1 about what success looks like for these teams at MSI, because I don't think it's a realistic expectation to think Astral or even PSG is going to come in and beat BLG and beat Gen G and hoist the MSI trophy. But I will say, for Astral fans, they and I hope this is not how they go out. They need to have a more potent showing than they had in game 1 here, because they had the roughest draw of everyone in their group of the 4 teams. They're the ones that had to play T1 right off the bat, right?
So challenging.
Insanely tall task. But I'd say in that game, like, that's the type of loss that the fans can live with. They showed aggression, they found multiple different angles to fight, and there were windows. All of those windows were locked shut by PSG in the last game, and it didn't look like they were willing to go in for fights. So here, I think Jose Diodo being on Xin Zhao instead of Maokai is going to give him way more agency to try and do things. Cody, the young star for this team, is on Talia, more playmaking than he had on the Ace Hole. Even if they go out, I think they want to go out swinging.
And especially since you are an organization that hasn't been on the international stage before. Replacing someone like Rainbow 7, Azure. Charm hits, there's the stun card, CC, follow up, Cody gets the time to flash out though. Manages to escape, does have to burn his flash for it.
But Maple had to skill Charm level 1.
True.
And it looks like Cody is going to try and stick around in lane, knowing that Maple has Charm level 1, isn't going to be able to push to lane first. It's actually okay. It looked like it could have been a disaster, but as of now, it's okay. And also, the lane swap hasn't happened yet, so it's just going to be straight up lanes, which, again, it's kind of more drafted for. There's not a massive advantage for one team during the laning phase. You could even argue PSG is happier with standard lanes because they have range versus melee top lane, and they have the Renata Varus, which should win, so yeah. No lane swap today. That's
why I'm slightly surprised that Estro didn't initiate it. Get the TF behind, try and set him back, just even if you're just denying him gold. Remember, gold is not multiplicative on TF, but every CS you get, you almost get, I think, an average of 4 extra gold, which just means that every time, even if you're going even in lane in terms of creep score, you are getting an advantage on the Twisted Fate. But Estro deciding against it for now.
And I 100% respect that decision, because Estral has lost every lane swap game they've been a part of.
They've also lost every game.
So, switch it up, man.
Okay.
They played the whole regular season, no lane swaps. They played for 5 years with no lane swaps. Let's just have a good old-fashioned game of League of Legends.
See if they can, in a good old-fashioned game of League of Legends, challenge PSG here. As I was saying before, we saw the Charm in the mid lane. Estral taking Rainbow 7's spot from last year. Rainbow 7 were able to make it past this round into the next one. I think by beating out Gam, if I recall correctly.
No
Cody
flash.
charmed again, no flash. Where are you going, Cody? Can
to his jungler.
Get there in time? His jungler's nowhere near, chat. did go for an invade on this bottom side of the map. Ginger will be spotted on this ward. Jose Diodo going to steal the blue maybe, while the wolves are taken by Ginger. In fact, might just look.
Yeah, he really wants it.
And TP in as well by Cody.
The fact that he didn't show is making PSG rather suspicious as well. I think he really wanted the counter jungle there. Great charms by Maple, honestly. Just 2 for 2. The level 1 charge that burned the flash, this charm to get the kill. Really going to put Cody in a tough spot. Cody teleported back, trying to shove in the wave right away, but the fact that Cody died also delayed greatly Jose Diodo's efficiency. He couldn't counter jungle a single camp there. And it's also going to push him away from his bot lane, which was really wanted to play aggressive as well. So it's a bit of a disaster having Cody die there.
It really is. And even if he does die, maybe Jose Diodo just has to accept it and stay on the wolves, stay on the blue, and just take away those camps. Yeah. It's always hard in the moment because Cody was saying, oh, maybe you can save me, maybe we can turn this, but it can be difficult to make those calls and leave your teammates out to dry. As my friend Roxer says, drop the inters. Sometimes that's the play that you have to make. More apt in solo queue than in a competitive 5v5 environment, I think. But
yeah, not when you're
I mean,
the superstar.
Might say it.
Yeah, it's hard to say that about pretty much anybody. You can have Faker on his team.
Cody still no flash charm from Maple. And this is the cost of burning your summoner at level 1. 2 deaths now on the Astral Esports mid laner.
International Maple, man. Like, he's not missing that charm.
Interesting roam by Ackerman trying to get up here. You can see the Ghost was immediately popped by Azure to get away. I like the idea with Jose Diodo collapsing as well. You have a small window as Ackerman to reset and come across with Snacker down in the bottom and able to push that in, but not really going to materialize into anything apart from a 1.3k gold lead for PSG early on here.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing that would be a little bit positive for Estral is that both kills didn't go to Maple. So in the direct 1-1, because it's so bad what's actually happened in the mid lane, and so good for PSG because Janjia on his Wukong once again is going to be so threatening for Talia and even Xayah in team fights. The TF is undisturbed in the top lane, able to push in, soon is going to be able to get plates, and more importantly, Jose Diodo is just way behind the curve. And like when this team is cooking, Jose Diodo's at the front. And with his experience disadvantage as well as not having 2 kills, like almost all the gold differences on the Wukong versus the Xin Zhao.
Jinjo on his 3rd most played champ across the course of his career, about a 70% win rate on it, so I'm sure he's quite happy to get that early tunneler. Ghost used by Betty in the bot lane as Snacker and Ackerman. The Snackerman bot lane. You know, I just thought of that, it was good, right? Yeah.
Clever. You have to get that in because this might be their last game.
Yeah, it might be. Might be a while until we see them again on the international stage.
I want to see them find a way to put up a fight here because PSG has jumped out to such a good early game. And this is such an uncontestable Drake. They need to just be able to accept these losses, even though it feels bad because they were so unable to pull the trigger in game 1. They've fallen behind early here in game 2. But now I'm just like looking at the way, like if PSG can play their game.
Good knock up. Cleanse out from Snacker, looking for Betty. No flash, no Ghost, no hope of surviving as Betty will fall. Snacker takes the kill. Astral Esports, you wanted them to find something. It seems like it's through bot lane.
And that's actually the only place it could have been. That was so good by them. Betty not having his Ghost, knowing that if they can manage to CC him after his flash, they'd be able to get that kill. Because they couldn't do it top lane, they couldn't do it mid lane. TF had just returned to top lane after already hovering down for the Drake. Like, that was their one window to get anything to happen. Oh, that was just so well done.
They had vision on the Drake as well, so they knew when Ginger was finishing it off, meaning they had that small window, as you say. And now if you're Estral, bot. Get onto Betty, has no sums. Great engage by Ackerman on his Rakan.
Yeah, they knew PSG was just trying to just get those last few minions before going for a reset. So still a Drake down, still 2 kills down in the mid lane, but a little bit of reprieve in that bottom lane. That's where they're going to have to play through. It's so tricky. Basically, Jose Diodo is just up there so that Cassante can get the wave in, but he isn't even able to get the whole wave in before the recall happens. He wants something with this Ghost.
Azure still has no Ghost, all out in, but Ginger's on his way across. Azure just baiting for his jungler. Cyclone Zothe with a good double dash away, but he can't escape Ginger's flash. He takes his 3rd kill of the game. All the kills for PSG sitting on the jungler's shoulders.
Yeah. Wukong's going to be a problem. He's definitely taken over this game. So, Jose, you're level 5. You can't do much right now. If we're going full solo queue jungler, as you were mentioning, like, you clear all those camps as best you can, you run back out bottom lane, and you fight. Like that's the only thing you're going to be able to do. You're hoping that maybe, you're just hoping the Twisted Fate isn't also there randomly, because he totally could be with his ultimate now post level 6, but that's your win condition at the moment. It's Snacker, because everybody else is falling too far behind.
And it's really before Woody gets to 6. He's about to tick over to level 5. Betty just has the Chain of Corruption right now. If you can get... I mean, Ackerman doesn't even need 6 for a dive to happen, but if Woody is 6, dives become a lot trickier. The hostile takeover, very good at disengaging a dive, very good at just delaying for long enough that you start to just take all of your health from the tower shots.
I mean, they could be going for it now. Like, I'd love to see the Talia just fog into the river right now after this wave, push this in as quickly as possible, and then even just posture a dive. Like, this is the time where maybe they could deny a wave, but they're second-guessing themselves. They're calling it off. They even see Twisted Fate top lane. Like, yes, Wukong is missing, has been missing, but they let them catch that whole wave. Now they're able to get the ward down.
So I think the call
I wanted to see him go for it there.
100% agree with you, Jack. I think the call is instead contest one of the buffs. Like, contest the buff, contest the Gromp.
Yeah.
Maybe they didn't quite know where Ginger was resetting through. The charm's going to land in the mid lane, but Jose Diodo steps away again. Ginger going in onto Jose might just burn his flash across the wall here. And now everything we wanted to happen becomes so much more difficult for Estral. You don't have the flash. Juggling tower aggro becomes a lot trickier. Woody's halfway to level 6. There are small windows on the international stage. They're tiny. They're like those little ones you get in the bathroom, right?
Yeah.
It's not a full 6-meter window where you can look out on someone's patio. Instead, you need to find the smallest window and then just defenestrate your opposition through it.
Unable to do it there. I like the analogy. Honestly, my brain just went deep into windows, and I found nothing good. I was going to talk about, like, oh, there's a really big window in our room at the hotel.
Small windows, like, you know, a Millennium or Windows 7, not one that people really like to use anymore.
And it's closed. Like, honestly, it feels closed for Astral right now. The window is locked. You could see through it, though, which gave them that brief moment of hope.
Bit by bit, it's becoming more stained glass, stained by their
He's still not level 6.
The engage happens. There's the quickness. They're looking at the kill. Onto Woody. They get him. Snacker pops the ultimate to escape. Woody full cyclone, though. Out from Ginger means Snacker will be the first of the Estral esports bot lane to go down. Red buff doesn't matter. Maple's here, and he'll happily accept his first kill of the game.
Oh, man. So PSG just making Astral feel bad about all the good things they're doing.
Yep.
They had the Zyricon ahead. They're able to get a kill in a 2v3, but that quickly turns into a 2v4. They both die. They lose an entire wave to the turret once again, and Jangia just gets more and more fed. They're going for it, though. Jose's top.
Jose trying to run in here. Gets onto Azure. Stun card. There's a hostile takeover. Jose has to step back. Still goes berserk as Woody here in time to protect his top.
So they definitely are making several visits up to this Cassante, and this fight's not over.
Flash heals to the benefit for Woody. He uses them both to dodge away from Ackerman. Ginger will decoy his way back. Jose Diodo looking for more as the bailout comes out. There's the Destiny as well, just a vision in the bush. Ginger gets 1. He's looking for 2 as Ackerman has to dash the wall. Destiny forward by Aperture.
The little crumbs got him.
That was not good for Estral. And I think if we could just soundbite what Jat sounded like during that as Maple looks for another. Betty takes it with the piercing out.
It was really, that's what everyone was thinking if you're an Astral fan. I think PSG is really close to sealing the deal here. They're going to deny the grubs from Astral. It's going to be 3-3. They don't have any good team fight structure in terms of frontline, backline, but they're really not going to need it. They're 4,000 gold ahead. The Wukong can one-shot pretty much anybody. I broke you with that. That's amazing.
Really did. That was not expecting that. As we see, like, Snacker and Ackerman are doing exactly what they need to in this situation. Just everywhere else is so far behind that they don't have the support to do it, right? You had a little bit of vision in the river, but Maple's able to roam from mid first. Junju is there first on the Wukong, and even if you're winning the 2v2, it doesn't matter in the end.
Yeah, and what ends up happening here is, like, a lot of times junglers will just kind of auto path top lane because they think that's where they're able to get a little bit of gold when nothing as good is happening. But it's a ghost flash TF. Like, that guy's actually so hard to gank when they don't have any reasonable lockdown. And then because they move up their strongest member, Snacker here, they think they have a chance of turning it around. But it's so tricky with all these control wards in the bushes and the angles that they're having to fight on. I love the Twisted Fate ult just for a little bit of extra vision. And then Ackerman just pisses off the grubs, man. And they finish the deal with that last auto.
It's a full Timon and Pumbaa.
Yeah, just a little bit more to the side when you fly over that wall.
Before, like, it's an item difference in fights like that. And
it is.
It's a struggle to say, because how do you come back from this position? We saw in game 1 how good PSG are at closing out from this spot. But if Junja doesn't have Sundered Sky and doesn't get the auto attacks off, healing himself in a fight, the extra crits, maybe it goes in Estrel's favor. But he does, because he's 6-0 now, has a 600 gold bounty on his head. And maybe Estrel can go Django Fett and look for some bounties. But on May the 4th, currently, everything seems to be coming up PSG.
Nice. Well done. I also think for PSG, this is a warm-up game for them. I think they really want that rematch against FlyQuest.
Would you call it an E-walkover?
No, I wouldn't. I'd call it a warm-up game, medic. I say, because they won game 1 against FlyQuest. They had a very close series. I feel like they really want this rematch. Coming into this series, I actually really did think it was going to be a lot closer, but they're just putting on an absolute masterclass here in terms of how to remove opportunities from the other team. Like, I feel like they haven't even necessarily like had that many hands-diffy fights. They've just been in the right position so often that the fight kind of wins itself.
They punished really well as well. Game 1, they punished the fact that Azure was able to get that experience lead. Game 2, they punished the fact that Cody didn't have flash, and because of that, he was 2 kills behind. And then they punished the fact that Ackerman and Snacker are the only ones that can look for plays. They're just very good at seeing the enemy's weaknesses, seeing the windows in their defense, and then cracking through them. And right now, they're looking to crack through this mid-tier 1 as well. They have the Rift Herald charging in. Shelly will lend a helping hand. Just look for 2 charges. You might as well. Like, you still know Cody is bot lane. Oh, he's going top.
He's going top.
Dun, dun. Oh, no. Come on, man.
You know, before that, I was going to give him player of the game.
Now he's no longer.
It. Yeah. Can't even drive.
Oh, Zofe. Yeah, just walks away. Destiny was popped by Azure, TP in by Cody, so it's a summoner for nothing. Weaver's wall out as Cody looks for the collapse here onto Betty. We'll be able to knock him back, but there's the hostile takeover. Whoa. And Cody just TP'd into his death. Zofe next on the menu as Ginger goes godlike. Not the MVP of the game, according to Jad everyone. Tweet at him, at esports Jad, if you think that's a mistake. Mainpool coming in from the side, doesn't want to go for the charm as Ackerman just dashes across the wall. 10 kills to 2. A 7,000 gold lead for PSG at 15 minutes, and this one is all done but the Nexus falling.
Yeah, even more decisive than in game 1. Wow, look at that landing quantity snapshot. 2,200 gold for Junjia at 15 minutes. It's like taking the heart out of Astral, because even against T1, we're thinking like, man, Jose Dioto's playing so well. Like, their jungle support synergy is so strong. They haven't been able to link up once with how dominant PSG has been here. And sure, they think they can get Betty here. They even land the CC onto him, but the damage is just so immense.
And the ability for PSG to disengage as well. We talked a little bit about the hostile takeover into engage comps. It's so powerful. Alongside that, you have the bailout, you have Junja going onto the back line. You don't have the damage if it's just Cody. He's got a Seraph, so it's not even fully stacked. Right, that's all he's got. Maybe if Snacker's there, you can burst down 1, but then is the bailout enough just to save that player?
Is there any space between 100% and where that red is?
I can see a pixel.
Okay.
Not a good movie, but a good thing to have on your computer.
You got a lot today.
When a game goes to this spot, I feel
fair.
like, you know, people can cheer, people can naboo, but... in the end, Estrel showed us a lot of signs of life in the T1 game, but against PSG, their stylistic differences just don't seem to match up. PSG have been so good at just shutting them down and not taking the fights, which is where Estrel, they thrive when it's a bit more skirmishy, a bit more fight heavy. PSG just took their lead and said, okay, you want to force on us, that's fine, but we'll always be in a position where we can overload that fight. We'll always be in a position where we outnumber you in that fight.
You're absolutely right. And there's just no messing around for PSG in this one.
Here goes Ackerman. The Weaver's wall coming in as well. Collapse onto Ginger. Hostile takeover is going to hit onto 2, though. Only Snacker not connected. Cody trying to get away. Does have the flash, but doesn't even use it. Ginger goes legendary. And, yeah, PSG now looking to collapse once again. Oh, the charm! Maple on fire this game. The Feather Storm, almost enough to take out Betty alongside the help of the tower. Crescent Guard from Jose Diodo with the Destiny coming in. The chase continues. Azure flashes forward, and Snacker meets his maker. A double for Azure. PSG get all 5 out alive, and Zope just wasn't able to join the fight.
They are here to end this series and knock Astral out of MSI 2024. I'd say, if I think about the reason my expectations were thinking this series was going to be close is I looked at the way Astral played against T1, and I think T1 was really just having fun with it and fighting, and we got to have that hands check, and we know that Astral could stick with them, but here PSG, knowing it's an elimination game, has just been so locked in the entire time, not taking unnecessary risks, but also taking risks when they need to. Like, they could easily slow roll this game, but they know they have such a lead right now. They know that they have the ability to dive with extra charges on the Ahri and the flash still on the Twisted Fate when he flies in there. 2 incredible games. Twisted Fate and Udyr here from PSG, and everything is clicking for PSG.
That's an 11,000 gold lead 19 minutes in. It is PSG just in the ascendancy. And now you're wondering, are they asking each other if they just want to pad out their stats? Like, do we want to pad me? Do we want to pad you?
I could tell from the tone of your voice you were going somewhere with it.
Yeah.
You need to be sneakier next time.
Well, that one wasn't a good one anyway. So, yeah. Here's the thing: as a caster, often in this position, you think, well, we need to try and give some hope for Estral. The only hope they have is PSG get a little greedy. They overstep. They take a fight maybe under the Nexus Towers, and then they manage to get a couple of kills. Because if Snacker gets to 5 kills and 3 items, maybe they can do something. But PSG are just so far ahead. Maybe actually a collapse while PSG are a little bit mismatched, but the TP is going to come in immediately by Maple.
Looks
the
like
dive forward, all out from Zote. Catches Betty away, but Junjo on the back line just keeping the rest of Estral from anywhere near this fight. There's 2 already, make it 3 for PSG. Junjo still has full HP, and PSG begin to collapse. You can see what Estral were thinking, but in the end, PSG very willing to take the battle. Feathers fly, Azure dodges them, and Cody is the last man to fall.
I think it was a good look, actually. They got a lot of damage onto Betty. If Maple didn't go over to help Betty, I think the Cassante would have been able to secure that kill, but now they can have their cake and eat it too. They get the clean ace as the Baron spawns. 16,000 gold lead at 20 minutes is one of the largest 20-minute gold leads you're ever going to see, actually. It's going to be right in that top percentile. So I think potentially even on the next push, PSG could be ending this series and moving on to face FlyQuest tomorrow.
Yeah, and that will be a rematch, obviously, of the series earlier. First game very close between PSG and FlyQuest. After that, FlyQuest started to take the lead. And you can see what they're thinking, like, Maple isn't here. Maybe we can just catch someone. Zote all outs Betty away. And I think Zote does win that 1v1 if the fight continues down there.
But Maple and Woody both move down to Peel. Then, because Janji is such an absolute monster on Wukong, he just takes care of everybody else by himself. And then at the very end, Twisted Fate can just ult in, get a little bit of extra CC, and complete the ace.
And now PSG with the Baron in to push in. This Red Bull Baron power play, only 1.5k, the gold you get from taking it right now, but the tower's sure to be forfeit relatively soon. Maple spots Ackerman, and this is the other thing, like, PSG don't give you the opportunity. They don't give you the chance. They're stepping into those side bushes, putting the control wards down, Ackerman's forced away, and Cody just dies because they were looking for a play, but they can't find it. Zote under the tower, Cyclone's not going to get the knockup as he manages to dodge away. Ginger looking for the second, but doesn't want to dive those Nexus turrets yet. Inhibitor tower and the inhib in the mid lane gone. Bot lane the next target for PSG. And they are doing it by the numbers here. Ackerman, no quickness. Snacker, no Feather Storm. And Estro, no hope really of winning out this game.
Statement game here from PSG. Even going back to the draft phase, right? Like, just everything they've done the risks they've made this series have all paid off extremely well, getting stronger throughout, just waiting for this next wave to arrive before I think they're going to just kill that next turret or the remainder of Astral if Astral tries to stop them.
Well, Cody's back up. There's the charm into the hostile takeover, and Betty immediately kills off Zote. Cody's trying to join the fray. Crescent Guard from Jose Diodo will get him back to the fountain, but now the cannon minions in the mid lane are doubling up on that Nexus target. Ginger just slaps down Snacker. He will fall for it. A consolation prize for Estral Esports, as they will fall at the hands of PSG. The PCS once again will make it through to the next round, continue the tradition of being one of the best minor regions as they face FlyQuest tomorrow.
Going to be a very competitive series, I think, really putting the smackdown to Astral. A disappointing end for the LLA here. They definitely showed some potential against T1, but just ended up not playing their best today as PSG just controlled the map in game 1, and then I think really controlled the mid jungle early on in game 2, forcing Astral into some really difficult choices. They then won every single skirmish, and then were just ruthless in this elimination game. So we were looking at the bracket from last year, actually, and it was a little bit different because there were 5 pre-seeded teams into the final bracket stage instead of 4. So, like, PSG actually made it all the way through. If it was this still format, they ended up beating Loud in what was their series last year. Obviously, different groups mixed up here. They lost to Golden Guardians 3-0 in the ultimate qualification match, but they're going to have a best of 3 actually this time, not a best of 5, to make it through the bracket stage again against North American teams. So they're going to be looking for some real revenge.
Yeah,
they're going to want
vengeance. Estral, though, going to take a bow on the stage. They deserve it. They made their way here, dominating their region. And you have to remember, for some of these players as well, new rookies to the international stage. Zofe we haven't seen before, Snacker we haven't seen before. For Cody, Jose Diodo, and Ackerman, another chance to prove just how good they are. I think today was just a stylistic mismatch. PSG a little bit too experienced for them, and too good at taking a small lead in the early game and suffocating you out of the match.
And man, international events are just so hard.
Yeah.
And I think for anyone who's not in the LCK or the LPL, MSI is actually even harder than Worlds. Because you're just playing like the best of the best from all around the world. And even though like this is a team in PSG that is not an LPL or an LCK team, but Maple's played in the LCK. Right? Betty's played in the LCK. Janjia's played in the LCK. Like, they have such a wealth of experience. It is cut them some slack. They got slammed today, but it is really, really hard. And PSG absolutely dominated and deservedly so. Move on to the next round
I think for
of the play-in.